Hey guys, it's Jason with the Board Game Mechanics, and today we're going to take a look at the newest game from Chara Games called Soul of the Empire. Soul of the Empire is a 2 to 4 player game where each player is taking on a different faction in history. So you have the Romans, the Christians, the Jews, and the Coalition. And you're trying to be the first person to hit 7 points or reach your own specific win condition. This is a 100% asymmetric game. Each faction plays completely differently. They each have different win conditions. I mean, they can all win by getting 7 points, but they all have very different ways that they play and different ways that they can win. So enough talking about it. Let's go down to the table and kind of see if we can show off how that asymmetry works. All right, so here's a game of Soul of the Empire set up for 4 players. This is an asymmetric game, so every player has a different role. So let me go over those real quickly, and then I'll show setup really quickly, and I'll kind of go over a round of play. This is a big beast of a game, and I don't want to mess up rules too much, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but at least want to show you what it looks like, how it plays, and how to set it up, and kind of a gist of a round. So I might play through each faction one time. So first we have the Romans. They're red. They have red dice. They have their own win condition. So everybody can win by getting to 7 points on this track right here. I forgot to put one of their people here, so let's do that. Start. All right, so everybody can win by being the first person to hit 7. Romans, they have their own... Oh, I already rolled these dice. Whoops. Aw, dang it. They have their own win condition. So for them to win, they have to capture 25 opponents. That's what this little track on their board is. So during combat, when somebody loses, they would take them. They all come over onto their board like this to keep track of how many enemies they defeated. The Christians, they need, that's the white color, they need to convert 18 enemies and have a person in Jerusalem, Rome, and where is it? Germania. So once they can do that, they can win, or they can get 7 points. The Coalition, that's the green color up here, which you can't see too well because this is a big sprawling game. They have to have sole occupancy of Rome or Italia. So Rome and Italia is right there. So right there. Or hit 7 points. And then the Jewish faction, they need to... Let me look at the card here. Sole occupancy of the blue region. So they need to be the only color in this blue region on the map down here. Now, let me go into setup really quickly. I'll try to not do a poor job at this, but I'm probably going to. So the rule book lays all this stuff out very well. I'm just going to try to give you an idea. So they're objective cards. You're going to shuffle them up, place 4 out at the top. That's how the Jewish faction, the Christian faction, and the Roman faction are going to score points. And they look something like this. So you can see each card has Rome faction at the top, Christian faction in the middle, Jewish faction at the bottom. You're going to claim these using dice, which I'll go into in a minute. And you're going to get points, which you can see all of these are worth 1 point, if you can complete that task on your turn. So that's the main way that Jews, Christians, and Romans are going to score points. Let's see. All right, so you set that up here. You're going to give each player power cards that are going to look like this. They're special cards that are going to let you have extra powers through the game. So not every player. Coalition doesn't have power cards. It's just the Jewish faction, the Christian faction, and the Roman faction. And then every player is going to have combat cards, which are going to look like this. They're going to have some text, maybe, and then they're going to have an additional combat value down here. Coalition only has combat cards. They don't have faction cards, but they can steal some. We might get into that later. You're going to give each player a bunch of their own meeples. So let me show you these real quick because they're cool. Let's see. So the Coalition has these little green guys. The Romans have a soldier with a shield. The Christians are my favorite ones because they look really neat. They are kneeling in prayer. Oh, that was terrible. I wasn't even on camera. Kneeling in prayer. And then the Jewish is a little Jewish rabbi. A little Jewish bishop or something like that. And there's also this gray faction. They're not really that fantastic, but they're little gray meeples that look like this. All right. So everybody's going to get that. They're just going to get 5 dice of their color. And a turn order card, which is going to show how combat works and everybody's win conditions. And then you're going to populate the board. So each area on the board has, well, the rule book tells you where something goes, and each player board tells you how you're going to set up the board. So basically, these red discs are Roman influence, are power markers, and you're going to put those on the red dots on the map. So they go in Dacia and Armenia. Then you're going to put all the coalition in the 3 territories that are coalition, 4 in each. You're going to put the Jewish factions in any area that has the Star of David. You're going to put the Christians where there's the Christian ichthus. And then you're going to, the Jewish and Christian players are going to take turns alternating their power tokens. There's a couple rules for that. They can't be in the same territory, so like I couldn't do this. And they can't be adjacent to each other. So you'll do that. And then after that, the Romans are going to place 8 additional troops out on the board and in where they want. And you're going to put 1 of your guys on the start marker on the score track. And there are 4 extra dice that may be used throughout the game by power cards and such. All right. So that's a quick overview. There's way more to it than that for setup, but that'll get you going. All right. So the way a turn works is you're going to roll dice. So we'll play as the Roman character right here. So I'm going to roll my dice. You can roll up to 3 times. The way you take actions in this game is you're going to do it through a sequence of dice. So either a straight, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or like 4, 4, 4 of a kinds. And okay, so say this player is going to keep the 4s. So they'll keep the 4s. You can roll up to 3 times. So let's see. Oh, not looking good. Not looking good. Oh, that's not good. All right. So they have a couple things they can use. All right. So the way the actions work, which I'll go into in a second, is you have to play from your sequence unless the action says you can play out of sequence. So, like for example, the Romans are either going to be able to play the sequence of 4s, the sequence of 6, or the sequence of 1, which would be silly. So they're not going to do that. So they're going to get to take 2 actions because they had a poor roll this time. So now let me go into the way the turn works. The turn is broken down into 3 phases. So let's look at the Roman board here real quickly. So you can look at the board. It's broken down into 3 phases. So there's a start phase, a main phase, and an end phase. You're going to do certain actions in the start phase in order. Then you're going to take actions based on your dice sequence in the main phase. And then once you're done with that, you're going to move into the end phase and do those in the order printed on the board. So let me go over some of those actions really quickly. It's a pretty straightforward game once you get the concept of it. All right, so the player rolled this. So now they're going to take some turns. So on their turn, they can take as many actions as they can based on the sequence of their dice. So first action they can do is they can move units. So let's say they want to move units. I'm going to do this as an example. These are all the unspent dice that they have. You're going to move it over to the spent dice area. Then they get to move up to 6 units because you can move as many units as you have pips on the die. So they can move 6 units anywhere else on the board. So say they wanted to do that. And we'll go ahead and do this. This will be the first action. They want to move this one here. That's 1. They'll move this one here. That's 2. They'll move both of these guys here. That's 4. They'll move 1 down into here. That's 5. And then they'll move this one down here. That's 6. So that's a movement. That's all you do. You spend a die, you move them any pips. Next thing you can do is you can recruit units. So let's say they want to do that. No, they're not going to do that. That's going to let them put extra guys on the board into areas that they already have guys. Unless there's some coalition there, you can't recruit where there's coalition. And anywhere else, like if over here, when you're with Jews or Christians, you can still recruit. It's just a coalition, put a stop, and you can't have more than 6. So if they wanted to recruit, they could put a guy wherever they have another guy up to however many pips they spend. So they can just go like that and then just keep growing their areas. But they're not going to take that action. Next thing you can do is you can initiate combat. So that'll be the second action they want to do, just so we can see how combat works. All right. So they're going to initiate some combat. Let's see. They're going to initiate combat down here in Caesarea. So it looks like they're going to be fighting the Jews. So the way that combat works is they spend their die. It can be any pips of dice. It doesn't matter. You just have to spend a die. They are going to be... The combat is deterministic. So it's number of meeples that you have is going to be the base of your combat. So here, Romans have 2. Jews have 1. So right now, Romans are winning. Then, you can play a power card if you want, if you have one that applies during combat, which Rome does not. Jews don't have any that apply either. Then, you're going to look through your combat deck. This is your hand of cards. You always have these cards in your hand. When you play one, it's out until you run out of cards. You're going to pick a card that you want to play. It's going to add that value to your combat. So in this case, they want to add, and highest number when Romans are fighting the Jews, highest number is the winner. When anybody's fighting the Christians, except for the coalition, the lowest number is the winner. When Christians are fighting the coalition, the highest number is the winner. So there's a different mindset if you're fighting Christians in this game because you have to play lower values. So let's see, they're going to go in here with a 5. So they're going to play the 5 face down. Then the Jews, the Jewish faction, are going to do the same thing. They know they need a big dog. So they're going to play this 6 because they are thinking, man, if the other team doesn't play a 6, they can win this. So they're going to play that. Then they're going to reveal simultaneously. So they play a 6, they play a 5. The 6 has some text. When you discard this card after combat, you may take a different combat card from your discard pile back into your hand. They don't have any, so it's just out. Then this one's out. So Jewish faction wins with 7 because 7, it goes to the defender. So the Romans have 7, the Jewish have 7. Jews were defending, so they win. So all of these go back to the Roman supply, and that's it. If the Jewish player would have, or the Roman player would have won, they would have taken this Jewish meeple and put it on their captured board to be 1/25 of the way toward their win condition. But they didn't, so none of that. Now, they don't have any other dice in their sequence that they can play, so now they have to move down to the end phase. So at the end phase, you're going to do this in this order. So you can play a power card if you have any that you can play on the end. These have certain times they can be played. It's going to be boxed in. Dang, I cannot hold on to anything. They're going to be boxed in. So this one has a start. It can only be played during the start phase. This one can only be played during the main phase. So they don't have anything that they can play during the end phase, so they're not going to play anything. Next, they can purchase power cards. They didn't do that. I'll try to do that with somebody else so you can see that action. And if they didn't do that, they can roll and ready their dice. So all their dice that are on their board, they get a spin, they get a roll. Let's see, they're going to try for 4s. So that's 1 roll, 2 rolls. All right, not great, but at least it's better than 2. All right, so then that's the end of their turn. Then if they had any claimed objective cards, they would take that, score the points, and the die would go into the spent dice. So basically, when you use the die to claim an objective, you're going to lose it for an additional round. So that was the Romans' turn. Then we're going to go to the coalition. Coalition plays a little differently. They don't have power cards, and they have a couple different actions that they can take. So they have a run of 4, which they're going to use as their action. So what they can do on their turn is they can move units. I already showed you that. They can recruit units, which you spend a die, however many pips, you put more guys out. You can initiate combat. Already did that with the Romans. They can claim an objective marker, which are these. So let's try to do that. Let me show you how that works. So first we're going to move some units. So we're going to move these 2 guys down here, and we're going to move these 2 guys down here. All right. Next, we're going to try to claim that marker. So we're going to use another die. We're going to put it down here. You have to use a die showing that you want to take that action, and you're going to put it in the area with the marker. There's a lot of stuff going on, so I'll just sit it right there, I guess. So now that die is going to function just like if it was on one of these. You get it back at a certain time in the game, and it doesn't get rolled into the next round. Then what else can they do? They can block an objective. So they can, if they have 6 pips worth of dice, they can put them up here and block 1 objective on each of these cards. You can't block more than 1 on each, but they can block the Roman here, Christian here, Jewish here, Christian here, to keep that faction from scoring those points. They're not going to do that because they don't have 6 worth of pips. And let's see, they can increase their rage. So they have rage that's going to add to their military value. So they start out at an additional 2. So right here, they would add 2 to this. So they would be at 4 versus 2 because their rage is at 2. It takes 2 pips to increase the rage. So let's see, do they want to do that? Yeah, they'll go ahead and do that. So they're going to go over here to the spent dice. They can just increase their rage once, so they're just kind of wasting it. But now the rage is at 3. And then when they battle, they also have a plunder action that they can do, which is going to decrease their rage some more, but it's going to let them steal cards, retreat from an area, make an opponent discard some power cards. So it's pretty cool. And the next thing they want to do is they're actually going to get some more units out on the board. So let's see, we'll go 1 here. They played a 4, so they're going to put 4 out. 1 here. They can't go there because they're in the same area with somebody, and they're also going to go over here. So 1, 1, that's 3. We'll put another one right there. All right, so that's the end of their turn. Then they're going to go to the end phase, which is play a power card. They don't have any yet because they haven't stolen any. Rolling ready dice. They can't roll that one because it's right there. So they're going to go here. They got the 5 and a 6. Maybe they can get a 3 and a 4. Come on. Yes. All right. So they're going to have a great turn next time. Then they're going to score claimed objective marker. So they're going to take this marker, go over here, take their die back, put it in the spent dice, and they get a point. If they claim the other red one, they're going to get another, they get 2 points, and the red person, the Roman faction, would go back a point for letting them take both their red markers. And then they're going to score sole occupancy in a region, which they do not have yet. Oh, they actually do. 1, 2, so they do have that right now. So they'll go ahead and do that. So they're going to score, that's not a region, never mind. It does not have color, so it cannot do that. Okay, so they don't do that. So their starting area is not a region. All right, so that's the end of their turn. Now we're going to go to the Jewish faction. So Jewish faction, they function a little differently as well. They have their normal meeples, but they also have the gray faction, which are like revolts. So they're peasants or whatever, but they're revolting against the people. And they're basically going to be another way that the player can manipulate fighting on the board. It's going to add the total of the gray people plus the Jewish people to attack. It does a little more than that, but that's basically what they do. So they roll their dice. They have 5 6s, so they're going to have an amazing turn this round. So what they can do on their turn is they can do the same thing the Romans can do. So let's see. They want to, and they have 1 power card right now, which is a revolt, which they don't want to really play right now because I don't want to do it. So what they're going to do is they're going to go here. They want to get some power cards. So the way that works, you're going to put it in. There's a special space on the box. It says power card dice. I don't know if you can see it on this one, but it says power card dice. You're going to go there. You're going to take the number on the die divided by 2. And that's how many power cards. Each power card costs 2 pips. So right now they have a 6. That's going to let them take 3 cards into their hand. There's a hard hand limit of 4. So right now they currently have 1, so they'd have to discard 1 at the end of the round. It's in the end phase when that shows up. So that's what they did. Next thing they want to do is they want to recruit some units. So they're going to take 6 over into their spent dice area. And they are going to get some more guys out on the board because they need to start cleaning up the blue area for their win condition. 3, 4. Let's see. We'll go 5. We'll put another guy in there. So that's 6. All right. Then they want to, let's look at these gold cards. Win combat against 2 different factions in blue this turn. They can maybe do that. So let's try that. So first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to mark that because they think they can win some battles. So they're marking this objective with one of their dice. We'll see if that pans out for them. So they're trying to say they can win win combat against 2 different factions in blue this turn. So we'll see what happens there. So they're going to start doing some combat. So they are going to fight the Roman soldier in this area right here. So they're going to use this 6 for that. And they don't have any cards they can play. Let's get some combat. They need high numbers. So they're winning by 1 right now. So they're going to play, I'm just going to play a face up so you guys can see it. So they're going to play a 5. And then let's see, what's Rome going to play? They are going to play this card, which is pretty neat. It basically makes their card the same as the opponent's card. So they're going to play that. They reveal. And this is saying, hey, I played a 5, but they played a 5, so 7 to 6, blue would win. So red goes back here. Blue won 1 battle, so that's 1. They need to win 1 more. That's out. So then they're going to attack them again in this region. So they're going after the Romans again. So let's see here. They're going to play another big dog. They're going to play a 4. And then the Romans are going to play a 4 as well. All right. So let's see. You may add 1 unit, any faction from an adjacent territory into this combat. So they're going to move 1 from this territory because it's adjacent. And then after combat is resolved, your opponent removes 1 unit from their supply or the board and places it into your captured area. So they're going to capture one of my guys after this battle, but that's fine. So they win because the Jewish faction has 7. The Romans have 5, so they're off. This card's gone. This card's gone. And then they get to take one of their items, one of their people, and they're getting captured by the Romans. So Rome is now working on their goals. Now that was their last action. Now they're moving into their end phase, so they're going to play a power card, which they don't want to. They're going to purchase power cards, which they will. So they're going to use their last die. Purchase 3 power cards. You're going to take them off the top. Then they're going to discard 1 randomly. So they'd have to get rid of 1. Now they have 3 that they have in their hand. And then they're going to roll and ready their dice. So they'll roll all these guys. Let's see. Ooh, they got some 5s. That's pretty nice. Let's see if we can get another 5. Nope. 3 5s and a 1. All right. Then they're going to score claimed objective card. So this is out. This is a spent die. And they're going to score this one. And they won combat against 2 different factions. So they score this point. They get 1 point. Now they're tied with green. All right, and then play moves over to the Christians. So we'll take the Christian turn and then we'll be done. I think you'll have a gist of how this plays. You're going to keep going like this until somebody either hits 7 or hits their end condition. So the Christians, they do the same thing, but they have an additional 4 people on their board that they can place into the blue region at any time on the game on their turn. So they're going to go ahead and get started. So they can play a power card. They don't have any at this time because they didn't start with any. They can use active power cards. They don't have any. They don't have any. Okay. So they're going to go ahead and take some actions. They want to get some more people out on the board. So let's get some Christians out. They're going to put 6 guys out. And they have to start from Jerusalem, which kind of stinks that it's going to crowd Jerusalem up. But that's fine. We'll move it around. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And then we're going to move some guys so I can start expanding. So we'll do a move action. So I'll move these guys over here. I'll move 2 more to an adjacent area up here. And then I'll move the other 2 over into Caesarea. All right, so there we go. Now we're starting to expand. All right. Next, they want to do a combat because combat with them is interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and show you one of those. So they're going to do a combat against the Roman Empire in Jerusalem. So let's see what their combat. I'll give a combat card here. So they're going to play this 3. So whenever you're fighting Christians, lowest number is the winner. So they're going to play the Jewish, or the Romans are going to play this 2. Okay. So both these cards have text. So the white one is going to say, before resolving combat, move 1 of your units of this territory to an adjacent territory, which is good because that's going to decrease their combat value. So their combat's at a 4. Then this player says, as attacker or defender, if you lose this combat, then you may immediately combat the same player in another territory of your choice, which is what they're going to do. So they lost. So the Christians win. So the way the Christian works, so the red player would come off. Then they get to convert the Roman soldier into new Christians based on the difference in combat. So this is a 3 and a 2. So they get to make 1 conversion. So they put 1 guy from anywhere. either another territory or a captured on the Roman board and put it into the area. Then they move up 1 on their saves conversion track and getting one step closer to the completion. Then, because Rome played this card, they get to fight the Christians again in a different territory, which I don't know if they can. They cannot because they're not in any, so they're not going to. So that card's out, this card's out. And they have 1 more die left. They want to get some power cards, so they're going to come down here. And they're going to, don't, that's combat. They're going to draw 3 power cards, and they get to keep them. Because they can have a hand limit of 3. And they don't have any in phase 1, so they can't play any. So they're not going to. Then they're done. They would play any power cards. They can't. Purchase power cards. We already did that. I went out of order a little bit. Roll and ready dice. So they're going to roll their dice. 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see if we can get a 3. See if we can get a 2. Nope. Not bad. 3, 4, 5, 6 is not bad. That'll work. That'll do. So they're ready. All right, and then it will be the Romans player's turn again. You're going to keep going like that until, again, you either hit 7 points or you hit your secret special victory condition. And whoever does that first is the winner. Let's go up to the top and see what we think about it. All right, so that was Soul of the Empire. I got to say, I love Chara Games. Well, games. We have commissioned. We play that. It's a fun game. It's got the neat little elder roll where you have to roll a die, and sometimes you can't discuss what you're going to do in a cooperative game, which is interesting. And this one is, it follows along the same lines, but it's not co-op. It's 100% competitive, and you're trying to get your influence out on the board in a similar way as in commission. But this one also has a ton of combat. I mean, a ton. You're not going to win this game pretty much unless you do some combat, because Christians, in order for them to convert their factions, they have to have combat with them. Coalition, in order for them to win, they're going to need to combat people so they can increase rage, do some plunder. Jewish faction, they don't have to really fight, but a lot of their goal cards are saying, hey, if you can wipe out some Christians or you can wipe out some Romans, you're going to get some points. So they're fighting in Rome. They have to capture 25 dudes. So they're going to do basically nothing but fight. That's what they do. So it's a little combat heavy. Again, for me, this game has a little too much combat, but it doesn't take away from how good the game is. This is a great game. It's fun to play. The rule book is pretty well written. I wish the power cards had a little more detail, because basically there's an index in the back of the rule book that says, hey, this power card does this. It's what the card says it does already. But the question sometimes is, what does that mean exactly? And that's not in the rule book. A little thing, you can make your own interpretation, and I think we did okay when we played the game. It's not a big deal. We just know that some of the power cards aren't as clear as I think they could be. I like the way that you use the dice. I think putting it in a sequence makes it really interesting, because normally in these types of dice worker placement games, you just roll, and then you have a 6, you have 1s, you have some 3s and 4s. You just go to a place, and based on the value of the die is what you can do. But you can use all 5 of your dice. In this one, if you only roll 3 5s and you have a 1 and a 2, you're pretty much only going to be able to take 3 actions with those 5s. Because you're not going to take the 1 and the 2, because that's silly. A 5 in this game is most of the time better than a 1 or a 2. So, yeah, you're going to get 3 actions instead of 5. So, that's an interesting mechanism, and I like that, again, you have 3 rolls to try to get something good, but again, it's dice, so you may roll and it be terrible every single time. So I like that. I like that all the meeples that each faction has is different. I like the way the board looks. Chara Games has a really cool graphic design of their boards. It's like different color palettes that most people don't use, and the board's kind of shiny. I like it. Not a lot of companies do that, but I like it for them. What else? The power cards are incredible and powerful. I mean, I was playing as the Christians, and my buddy was playing as the Romans. Every time one of his power cards, I was like, man, that is just wrong. The combat cards the same way. Like, the Christians have no 1 or 6, and it stinks that they don't have a 1, because they have to have the lowest value when they're fighting the Romans and the Jews. So they have 2 to 5. They have 2 2s and 2 5s, and then 3 and a 4. And then the Roman, they have all the numbers, but instead of a 1, they have an X, which basically mimics the other person that they're fighting's card. It's crazy. Like, all the cards are game breaking. In one of my games, I was playing as the Christians, and the power card said, convert one person in every adjacent region to where you have a Christian. I converted like 15 people or something on that. It was nuts, insane. Maybe not 15, maybe like 6 or 7. It felt like 15 because I went from nothing to almost winning the game. And I actually won the game in one of our plays with getting up to the 18 converted souls and being in the 3 places. So I got 1 point the whole game, but I just worked on converting and battling and moving my guys around, and I won. So yeah, if you like dudes on a map game, I'm not going to say this is that, but if you like games that have a lot of combat, some dice rolling, some interesting decisions, a Euro game that doesn't really feel like a Euro game, and you really like deep, rich historical games, definitely check out Soul of the Empire. I give this a BGM accepted seal all day. It's good. I definitely can't wait to play it again. Even just running through the video, I was like, man, I need to play through this game again. It is incredible. So yeah, Soul of the Empire by Chara Games. Go check it out. Kickstarter just fulfilled, and I think it should be up for sale sometime in the near future. You can go check it out, their website, which I'll have a link in the video for that. So yeah, that's Soul of the Empire from Chara Games. Hope you enjoyed the review, and keep gaming.